This one is again a very interesting set. It says Nikhil Manufacturing Limited manufactures shirts of only 7 colors: C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6 and C7. These are the colors. In the month of November, the company manufactured shirts of each of 7 colors according to the following restrictions. For any two values x and y, x and y are from 1 to 7, x is greater than y, the number of shirts manufactured, okay, even if you see the uppercase and lowercase, don't worry about it, it's the same x and the same y, okay. Color of 6, cx is more than x minus y times the shirts manufactured by cy. So it says cx is more than x minus y into cy. This is the relation. Oh, one plain and simple information, nothing else. Just take a look at the questions. Questions are, what is the minimum number of shirts manufactured by the company if at least 100 shirts of each color are manufactured? Okay. If the number of shirts of color C5 is not more than 400 and so on. Okay. So there are some specific questions we have to work question wise because there is nothing much to resolve about the data. There is one plain and simple information that is given. So we have to find the answers of individual question working one by one. Okay, let's start with the first question. What is the minimum number of shirts manufactured by the company? So we have to find sum of all those numbers C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6, C7. And at least 100 of each of them are manufactured. Now just by reading this data, reading this information, this is very clear that C1 may be the lowest, right? May be the lowest. That should be visible from the English language part. If it is not, don't worry about it. We'll take cases and we'll try to understand. Okay. If I just take, let's say, if I want to express C7 in terms of the others, one by one, let's do it one by one. C7 should be more than, C7 should be more than 7 minus 6, C6 should be more than, why am I writing equal to? Okay, C7 should be more than 7 minus 6, C6. It should be more than 7 minus 5, C5. It should be more than 7 minus 4, C4. It should be more than 7 minus 3, C3, right? That's the only information that we have. Cy is greater than, or Cx is greater than x minus y Cy, right? Further, if you go 7 minus 2 C2 and 7 minus 1 C1. Okay. Similarly, C6 has to be greater than. So instead of writing like this, can we just take the values instead of taking 7 minus 6, that is 1. Okay. So I'll just remove all this and I'll put the values there. Now that we understand the process, we'll just put the values there. So C7 has to be greater than 7 minus 6, 1 into C1, 2 into C5, 3 into C4, 4 into C3, 5 into C2 and 6 into C1. C6 has to be greater than 6 minus 5, 1 into C5, 2 into C4, just put the values 6 and 4, so 2 into C4, 3 into C3, 4 into C2, 5 into C1. Okay, so it is reducing. All right, so this is C1. If I have C5, that should be greater than 5 minus 4, 1 into C4, 2 into C3, 3 into C2, right? 5 minus 2, that is 3. 4 into C1, very good. So C7, C6, C5. What about C4? C4 should be greater than 4 minus 3, 1 into C3, 2 into C2 and 3 into C1. Nice. C3 should be greater than 3 minus 2, 1 into C2 or 2 into C1. And C2 should be greater than 2 minus 1, 1 into C1. Right, just look at this carefully. Now, if I take some value, Question is if at least 100 shirts. So looking at this data, that's what I said, that this could be inferred. Now, if you could not understand there, now it should be very clear that C1 may be the lowest. Okay? Because all the others are very high multiples of C1. All the others are very high multiples of C1. Okay? So if I'm taking C1 as 100, if I take C1 as 100, then C2 has to be more than 101. In fact, more than equal to 101. C2 has to be more than equal to 101. So let me do one thing, remove this, and I'll take C2, possible values I'm writing like this, 101, 102, okay, let it be just 101. Sometimes too much of information is also not good. Okay, so I'll just keep it as greater than or equal to 101. Then from there, C3, 1 into 101, it should be more than that. So greater than or equal to 1 into 101. Now this is, okay, so in fact what you can also do is just take minimum values. So minimum value of C2 is 101. Now this has to be greater than 1 into C2. 1 into C2 is 1 into 1 into 101, that is 101. But you can't take equal, so let me remove that sign in fact. Okay, just hold on. Just hold on. I'll say it is greater than 100, greater than 101, and greater than 2 into C1, that is 200. So the minimum value of C3 will be 1 more than any one of them. So at least 201, because C3 has to satisfy both. Okay, so 201. Now proceed from there. We have C4. Yeah. So 1 into C3, that is 201. 2 into C2, very carefully, stepwise. 2 into C2. So 2 into C2 is 101, so 202. Yes. 3 into C1. 2 into C2, that is 202. Okay. And 3 into C1, that is 300. So C4 has to satisfy all these conditions. So the minimum value of C4 will be 201, 202, 300. So 301. Right. So you have to be very careful. Slowly, one by one, we keep doing that. Now let's do it for C4 we have. So C5. So from C5, you see 1 into 301. So it should be greater than 301. 2 into C3. 2 into C3, 201. I'm taking minimum value, so it will be definitely more than that. 201 into 2 is 402. 3 into C2, so 3 into 101, that is 303. And this has to be 4 into C1, that is 400. So from here, satisfying all these conditions, the minimum value of C5 will be what? Check it, 301, 402, 4. Right, so 403 is the minimum value of C5. Now, what mistake people make? 101, 201, 301, so 401. Nahi hai, aisa nahi hai. That is what is the beauty of this question. Okay. Now, I don't have space here, so I'll write here, nothing to worry. So, 1 into C5. So, 403, it should be more than 403. 2 into C4. 2 into C4, that is 602. So, it should be more than 602. 3 into C3. 3 into C, okay, let me draw the line. 3 into C3. 3 into C3. So, 3 into 201, that is 603. Okay. 4 into C2. So, 4 into 101, 404. And 5 into C1, that is 500. So, satisfying all these conditions, minimum value of C6 has to be more than 603, that is 604. All right. And then we reach C7. So, it is very important to analyze each part, otherwise you will not get to the correct situation. Fine. So, for C7, 1 into C6, that is C604. 2 into C5, 2 into 403, that is greater than 806. 3 into C4, 3 into C4. So 3 into 301 is 903. And I think we don't need to go ahead because they are not going to be close to 900. Just check it. 5 into C2. Oh, 4 into C3. I have taken it wrong. Yes, of course. Yeah. This is 2 into C5 is done. 3 into C4. 3 into C4 is 903 is correct. 4 into C3. Okay, that's correct. Sorry, that's correct. 4 into C3 is 804. And 5 into C2 is 505. And 6 into C1, that is greater than 600. So satisfying all of them, from here you can see that C7 minimum value is 904. What is the question? The question was, what is the minimum number of shirts? So we have found minimum of all of them. So add all of these numbers very carefully. Which one? 904, 604, 403, 301, 201, 101 and 100. Okay, so add them carefully. 4 and 4, 8 and 3, 11 and 1, 12, 13, 14, 14. So 4, 1. Then the 100 places, 9 and 6, 15 and 4, 19 and 3, 22 and 2, 24, 25, 26. So 2614. Answer of this question is 2614. Right? So just the process, so data was very less, the information given was very less, but that itself contained a lot of cases, so which you need to work all of them and then you can answer the question. So first question is done. Second, the number of shirts of color C5 is not more than 400. Then what can be the maximum value of C2? Now if you go back, C5 is not more than 400. C5 is, in this case we have a specific situation, right? And this is again a mistake point. What people do is, they start comparing with this. No, this we got when we started with this. Okay. In the question, it is already giving you that it is less than 400. So you will not use this information. So I'll just change the color. We know this relation. We know this relation. Focus on this relation. Okay. Fine. So C5 has to be greater than C4. So I can write that, look at this very carefully. C4 has to be less than C5. Okay. C5 is greater than 2 into C3. So C3 is less than C5 by 2. Okay. C5 and C2, what is the relation? C2 is less than C5 by 3. And for C1, the relation will be C1 is less than C5 by 4. Now, if I say that C5 is less than 400, then C4 will be less than 400. C3 will be less than 200. C2 will be less than 400 by 3, that is 133.33. And C1 will be less than C5 by 4, and that is 80. Yeah, just check it very, very carefully. Okay. So if C5 is less than 400, then what are the conditions that we get? I'll just create some space to do this. From here we get, if I have C5 is less than 400, that means C4 will be less than 400. In fact, less than C5, so definitely less than 400, less than 399 in fact. C3 is less than half of C5, so C3 is less than 200. C2 is less than 500 by 3 is, 400 by 3 is 133.33. And C1 is less than 80, not 80, 400 by 4, that is 100, less than 100. Okay. Now a doubt comes, if I am taking C1 less than 100 and C2 133, how is it possible? Yes, it is. See, this is the minimum value, na? C2 could be more than 101, and in this case it is. It's not creating any trouble, so it is fine. Okay? So this is the situation now. What do we need? The question is, what can be the maximum number of shirts of color C2? Okay. So C2 has to be less than 133.33. So the maximum value of C2, max value of C2 is 133. But you need to check, is it valid? Because we need to see that C2 is valid. How come? C2 is greater than C1 and C1 is less than 100. Okay, so 133 is fine. So this is a valid situation. Okay, so answer of this question will be 133. So basically the same information is just getting used again and again. Now comes the most interesting question, that is this one, third one. The number of shirts of color C1 is 100 and C6 is 604. Then what is the difference between the number of shirts manufactured of color C3 and C4? Okay, what is the difference between? So C1 is 100 and C6 is 604. Okay, you see there is no option. Why? Because we have exactly done the entire calculation. This is the limit. This is the minimum value. So all of them will be exactly these only. You see, if I'm taking C1 as 100, then minimum of C2 was 101. We have already done that calculation. Nice. So the same calculation will help us. This is the minimum value. So if it is given 604, if it is given 100, then all the values will be this only. C2 will be 101, C3 will be 201, C4 will be this, and so on and so forth. What is the question? The difference between number of shirts manufactured of color C3 and C4. So C3 and C4 are going to be 201 and 301. So the difference of 301 and 201 is 100. So answer of this question is 100, option B. Right. The number of shirts of color C7 is necessarily less than which of the following number of shirts of color? C7 less than? No, C7 is more than all of them. Whatever you do, C7 is more than all of them, right? Because these are multiples, right? Of course. Just take a look at it. Whatever you do, C7 is going to be the highest, always. So, none of these. It is greatest of all of them, right? So, this was an interesting question. Just go through the solution again. If there is any trouble, you can get back to me.